Peter Obi's candidacy is flying on the wings of hope. Those who would ordinarily have given up on the system and refused to get involved, but who have found hope in the belief that Peter Obi might deliver on the dreams of Nigeria, the potentials, the undoubted potentials of this blighted land. All of those ones have become energized simply because of the fact that they found that, as my people, the Yorubas will say, from the black pot emerges the white pap. Because this man came through this horrible system, but he ruled in a state for 8 years and he left indelible marks. He went against the grain. When everybody was busy lining their pockets, he served the people. He served. Demonstrably, he served. In this land where they are busy squandering the wealth and riches of the people, he saved money. He invested, thinking attended the governance of a state in Nigeria. The leader actually led. So, you know, his candidacy has ignited popular imagination and struck a chord where people are thinking, maybe this is actually possible. That hope is what is propelling the candidacy. And people have caught fire simply because they believe in the possibilities of Nigeria under the rule of a man who appears to understand what he wants to do with power and who has done it in the past, proven himself. It is unusual in this country of ours. A man ruled a state like Anambra for 8 years. He wrested powers from the Uba, and they think that one is a softie, somebody who can take power from the Uba. These were people who controlled Banuju, or whatever that one's name was. These were murderous people who killed Barnabas Igwe, the NBA chairman, I believe in Onitsha. Look, these were not easy people. Peter Obi fought them to a standstill, took over the state, made the state work to the point where people are clapping years after he had left. There is a basis to be excited. And I would say that Peter Obi probably represents the last opportunity for the ruiners of Nigeria to get out of power without bloodshed. That's my honest belief, because he actually represents a transition to a change that can be orderly, because the old system is no longer sustainable. It is no longer, it's patently unsustainable. So that's what is propelling it. It is hope that is propelling his candidacy. And that is what's driving everything. If we can enthrone Obi in Nigeria, what it means is that that country, one of only two in the whole of Africa that has the capacity to propel the black race to prominence, finally has a thinking, visionary leadership. It simply also means that the people transformed from indigents into citizens, because that is the only way they would elect a Peter Obi in a place like Nigeria. In a place like Nigeria, it is usually the Emilokons of this world. It is usually the Mekanos of this world. That's Atiku and Tinubu. Usually, in a place like Nigeria, those are the ones who get elected, because usually the people would always validate the stereotypes and always take one of the evil twins. But unusually, and for some pretty weird reason that are only known to God, and I'm sorry I have to call the mystic into this issue, but truly, when you look at the Peter Obi candidacy, you begin to realize that certain things that are falling never there. Peter Obi is more or less the beneficiary of a struggle, sometimes some of which he knew nothing about. He just is the man in the right place at the right time, and things are falling into place. And if that should happen in Nigeria, it is bound to have a ripple effect across the length and breadth of Africa. Look at the kind of shenanigan that happened with Nigeria and Kenya in the deportation, or rather the rendition of Nnamdi Kanu to Nigeria. If our country had been under the rule or leadership of a man who obeys the rule of law, who recognizes and values the rule of law, we would never have been involved in that criminal act, because the net effect is that even our own court in Nigeria has pronounced that the rendition of Nnamdi Kanu was illegal. So it simply meant that our government in Abuja, our president, is criminal. We are being led, Nigeria was led into the criminal act of abducting his own citizen in a foreign land. That tells you the kind of thing we have done. We corrupted even Kenya. So what kind of rogue nation have we become in Africa? So if we must become a force for good, Peter Obi's presidency will be a good place to start, because he'll send a signal across Africa. The Nigerians have indeed woken up, and we are ready to be better than we have been. When good men build systems, it is not unlike men who plant trees, knowing that they will not live long enough to eat of the fruit of those trees. I believe that Peter Obi has introduced himself sufficiently that the man means what he says. I don't agree with everything he says, but as I have sought to explain to a lot of people, the difference between a political movement and a political party is that in a movement, you might not get everything you want, but you find the overarching ambition and objective of your own collective reflected in the movement. So you come in. When we get to the point where we need to begin to deal with the nuts and bolts of governance, we might have differences in approaches. I am perhaps a little more fundamental in my demands in relation to restructuring, but I understand that it is easy to criticize. It is another thing to govern. He is a politician. I'm a critic. So the politician has to build consensus. The Nigerian people are speaking eloquently across the length and breadth of Nigeria. As I have said earlier on, hopelessness had governed this country for almost 8 years. Complete hopelessness. In the years of the PDP, as clueless as the PDP might have been, it at least traded in hope, and the people could hope. But that hope has been evaporated, completely extinguished under the rule of General Buhari and his horde of locusts. The fact that the two political parties now threw forward what I have earlier described as the two horsemen of the apocalypse and brought forth Emilokon and Mekano. What that did was that it left the people even more despondent. And then Peter Obi showed up. Peter Obi is the X variable, the one they didn't plan for or expect. They never planned for him. The assumption was that we will be snookered into a choice between stupid and evil. He was always going to be between Atiku and whoever the APC was going to throw for. The APC deliberately waited for PDP to confirm his candidacy before presuming to bring out his own. They never factored in an Obi candidacy or a movement evolving around his candidacy. Nigeria has been the business of a lot of people for a long time. The totality of their wealth, everything that sustains their lifestyle, comes from feeding fat on Nigeria. The Peter Obi candidacy, the Obidati movement, threatens their way of life, and they will do anything, including kill, in order to retain that power. We need to remain vigilant, but keep up your hope. There is a lot to be hopeful about, a lot.